Hey everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to the platform and the second lecture of this entire series of AWS Organizations and Control Tower. So I hope you had a better understanding of AWS Organization from the conceptual side. Today in this lecture, we will be deep diving into the demo section. So let me jump to my AWS Management Console. So this is my AWS Management Console. As you can see, the account ID is 6508. I have another account which is having account ID as 3757. So I'll be playing around with these two accounts. So this account was created long back. Uh, it was part of the organization earlier, but I deleted that. I left the organization just to show you how you can add an existing account. Plus, I will also show you how you can create an organization. So let me go back first to the AWS default page. Here you can type AWS organizations. Okay. So I'm into my secondary account because in my primary account, the organization is already created. Now, I'm just showing you how you can create the organization. Okay. So as you can see, management and governance, whatever we discussed in our previous lecture, central management for multiple account access. Okay. Add an account, group an account, apply policies, enable AWS services from one management console. There is no additional cost available for AWS organization. So what you have to do, click on create AWS organization. What this will do, this will create your organization. Okay. Now my organization is already created. Check your email to finish verifying your account management. So this is the email of one of my colleague that I'm using. So I need to log in into this email just to verify. So let me have this video pause. I have to log in and confirm. I'll show you the email as well. So this is the mail what we got from AWS organization email verification request. So what we have to do, we have to do a verification within 24 hours because the link gets expires within 24 hours if you making your account as an master account or a pair account, because this has to be done on the pair, master or root account. So let me click on verify your email address. This will ask me to log in into my account as well because I have been using this in the private window. That's why it's asking me to log in again. So that's the root of my colleague, and let me type the password. I have to do the MFA. So I'm just using my mobile. I'm using Google Authenticator 241346. Submit. So I should be able to navigate to my AWS organization page. Perfect. So the root account is done. Now I can invite any of the other accounts as part of my organization, right? So this is the way that how you create your AWS organization or how you make your account as a pair account or master account or root account. Okay, that's one thing. Now how you can add it, I will be deleting this organization because I don't need it. I will be using this existing account to add it to my parent account. This is not my parent account. This was just to show you guys how you can enable or create AWS organization. Okay, so for that, what I have to do, settings and delete organization. So this is another way that I'm showing you that you can also delete the organization. Click on delete and copy this for the confirmation. Don't ask me to type. Okay, copy, yeah, delete. So organization is deleted, right? Let me go back to my parent account. This is my parent account, which is 6508. Here I already have AWS organization set up. Okay, I'm going to invite the other account to this account. Now you can see I was playing around with control tower with the different automation. So I created a lot of different accounts. Now these are suspended, but uh, and you might know if you try to close your account, it remains in suspended state for 90 days, and after that AWS delete that account. Until 90 days you cannot use the same email address. Okay, let me copy the account ID first. This is my secondary account. Now how you can add a new account, right? This is very easy process. Create a account. So what you have to give, the name of your account, whether it is a QA, sandbox, test, or business unit 1, dev, or whatever it is. You can name it as per your requirement. Then you have to use a unique email ID address for your account owner, and IAM role will be like this one. This is the default that what we get. So I don't have any specific email because I have already exhausted all my email addresses. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on invite. So for creating a new account, that's the step that you have to follow. For inviting a existing account, you just have to give the email address or just the account ID. You can add multiple accounts with click add another. You can send a message that this is the invitation to add it to org, and then you can give tagging is important. So cloud for DevOps 2. Okay, send the invitation. This will send out an email again to me. So let me go back here, go back. So invitation to join an AWS organization. Let's go tech in a cloudy way, owned by, that's the email ID, that's the account. Click on accept invitation. I might need to log in again. Let's see. No, I don't need to. Perfect. So this is the management account. Okay, and this is the org ID what we have. So let's go back to our parent account. That's what the invitation, right? You can accept it, you can decline it, right? This is the invitation to add it to the org. So let's accept. Perfect. So everything is done. And let's say if you want to leave the organization, then you can click leave this organization and you're done. Let's go back over here, refresh. This is the parent account. So we will be able to see the new account that we have, existed account, we have added it over here. That's this one. Let's go take in a cloudy way. That's the colleague email IP address, not IP, the email address. So now the account is added to my AWS organization. So I showed you how to create an organization. I showed you how to add a new account or how to create a new account and then add it to the org, how you can delete an organization, how you can invite an existing account with add account section, plus how you can accept the invitation and how the link, the email basically looks like. Here you can see 6 requests to create AWS account failed in last 90 days, which is fine. Let's go to the invitation. I sent the invitation to this account and this is accepted. You can invite it from here as well. Let's go to services. So these are the services. Basically, so you can configure supported AWS services to perform actions in your AWS organization. Another important pointer over here is this is global in nature. These are not regional service, these are global. Now you can have Amazon Detective from your security perspective, Guard Duty, DevOps Guru, Inspector, Macy, VPC, IP Address Manager. So you can enable a lot of different services that what it supports. RAM, which is Resource Access Manager. I used RAM with one of my practical demo where I created the scenario of hub and spoke where you can share the transit gateway from one account to another account. So those are the things that we did. Systems Manager, again one of a good service. I have a detailed series of systems manager. So please go through that if you're not aware of it. I like this service because it has a lot of capability for, you know, automating a lot of different stuff. So as you can see, access is disabled. The trusted access is disabled, right? Now, if you go to policies over here, I have opted everything as enabled. AI services, opt out policies, backup policies, then service control policies. That is very important for us because that's where we play around with a lot of different services. Now, by default, we are getting full AWS access, right? Which basically allows access to every operations. It's a full access. That's a default one what we get while creating organization and adding the other accounts over here. You can also create a policy, your own policy. You can, like, let's say don't want to create your VPC in a different account, and then you can attach that policy. I'll do that in a bit. Let's go to the settings section. These these are the org detail, then delegated AWS administrator that you can create, and finally you can delete. Okay, so let's go back to policies again. Not the policy, services. Now, if you want to enable the access over here, because by default you see a lot of different services, the access has been disabled. So if you want, let's say, guard duty or artifact or any other services to be enabled, just click on that service, click on enable trusted access, go to Amazon detective console, whatever it's asking. I'm just navigating it, right, just to enable it. Since I'm not using detective, so that's why it's not enabled or getting started. Now if I show the option enable, sorry, that's my bad, enable trusted access, and now detective is enabled. So that's how you enable the services. But the best practices says don't enable the trusted access from the root account. You should go to the other one, the other accounts, and enable it from there. But as of now, since I don't use it, so I will disable it. I'm just showing you the options what we have, right? Now let's go back to AWS account. Here you can see, now we have navigated to invitation, services, policies, settings, and everything, right? Now here you can see the org structure, everything, every account listed over here, but we are more concerned towards these two accounts because this is management, a root, a master payer, you can say that. But the org structure, the OU, what you are seeing over here is everything is under root. Whether it is suspended or live, everything is under root. That's the default structure, right? But let's say if you want to create an OU, so OU has to be created within the root. Root is one OU. So you just have to select root, click on actions. One sec. And create a new organizational unit. For this video, I just give as stage. Click create OU. Perfect. Now we have a stage OU. Within root, we have a stage OU. Now I want to move this account to stage OU. What I have to do, select that account, actions, click move, and we'll move it to this stage OU. Just remember, you cannot have one account in multiple OUs. It is a one-to-one relation. Click on move AWS account. Now, if you see that active account is gone from the root, we just have a management account, and within stage we have another account, which is the new one we just invited, right? So that's how you play around with OU structure. Since I don't have multiple accounts like 5, 6 accounts, I can't show you movement of all those accounts, but let's try. I'm not sure if the suspended account can be moved because this is in the suspended state. So what I can do, click on root, I'll create another one. Let's say sandbox, create. Let's try to move these two accounts. I'm not sure if this will allow me or not. It's allowing, which is fine. I haven't done that yet. So uh, let's click on sandbox, click move AWS account. Perfect. Now we have those two accounts moved over here. So that's how you create OU structure. That's how, and within stage as well. Let's say this is a sandbox, right? I want to create a sub OU. So click on that sandbox, create a new, and just give as test as an OU, right? And now you want to move one of the account into test. Let's say this one, actions, move, and expand this, move it to test. So this is also done. So within sandbox we have one active account, one suspended account. Within that sub OU test we have cloud for DevOps stage, and within the active stage, which is basically parallel to the root, within the root, basically not parallel to the root, within the root we have stage OU, which is running the active account. So that's how you do the structure of your OU based upon your requirement, right? It's not necessary that you follow the same structure. It's based upon your requirement. But if you're dealing with the organization, it's always recommended that you divide your structure, whether it is prod and non-prod. So I remember with one of the organization I worked, one of my client, where I created the structure as prod and non-prod, right? Or pre-prod basically. Within prod, I moved all my prod related data, prod related account. There were like multiple accounts running for the prod workload. And within non-prod or a pre-prod, I moved stage and dev accounts. So that was more of a hub spoke model that I migrated from unorganized structure to an organized structure. If I find out one of the architectural in my repo, then I'll share in one of the videos. Perfect. Now let's go to policies. I hope everything is getting clear over here. How to create org, invitation, create a new account, then add an existing one. Then we created the OU structure as well. We moved the accounts to. Now final one, because there is a detailed video coming up for service control policies, but I'll show you one video over here. Not video, basically I'll be creating one policy. So let's go to the account one more time, and how to create that. Services, no, policies. So let's click on service control policy. By default, as I mentioned, full access we are getting. So let's create our own policy, and let's give this name as test policy. And we will follow the deny policy. So you can create your own statement, what all things needs to be done as part of your, the consolidated policy, which is applied to all your accounts. So I'm going to take one example. So this is one example where it says with this SCP, any instance launches not using T2 micro are denied. So only T2 micro instances are allowed. Okay. Create policy. So the policy is created. Now you can attach that policy either at root level. So if you apply at root level, it will be applicable for all the accounts which is added, or you can specifically add it at OU level or sub OU level. So that is totally depend upon you. Fine. Click on attach policy. So ideally, I should not be able to create any instances apart from T2 micro. So let me go back to the instance, click on launch an instance. So as you can see, T2 micro is already running, but let me try one more time. Test one. So let's first try with T2 small, which is not a T2 micro, without a key pair, and select this. That's it. Launch an instance. Let's see. You're not authorized to perform this operations. Okay. So that's why the instance is not getting launched, because the policy is in picture, because we have denied the policy from AWS organization. So just try to think whatever we had discussed as part of the concept of organization. Controlling everything from a central place. That's what SCP is all about. Controlling everything from single source of point, right? So let's cancel this out. And for you, I just provision one more T2 micro EST, which is fine, T2 micro without a key pair. So we should be able to launch this instance. As you can see, instance has been launched. So let me go to the instances. Both are T2 micro. I don't need it, so let's terminate it. Why to bear a cost for this, right? So that's how one of an example of SCP work. Now, let's say if you want to delete this policy which is not required, then you cannot delete it directly. You have to detach the policy from the area which you have attached. So click on the stage OU. As you can see, this is children and policies. You can see all the applied policies for AI services, backup policies. This is the full access and the test policy that we have attached. And you can see this is inherited from the root, right? So click on detach policy, and let's go to policies again, service control policy. Click here and delete test policy. So that's how the SCP works. I mean, that's one of a common example that I showed because I have copied it from AWS documentation. The policies are very important. The permission boundaries, that's how you play around with AWS services. So that's in total about AWS organization. I want to show you one more thing if that is enabled. So I'm going to the account section and into the billing console. So as you can see, bill by account. Now, this is the second account that I'm using. So that's already there. And this is the master account, which is there, right? So based on the experience what we had with AWS organization, we are getting everything at one place. So all the data for whatever the number of accounts you are seeing, you will be able to see what number of dollars that you have spent across your 100, 200, 300 accounts. You can download the CSV report. You can analyze those stuff and everything. Plus, one more important thing is like you can also play around with the cost explorer and the cost allocation tags and everything from your AWS organization. So let me go back to my slide. One more important thing that I want to cover up over here, which is basically the best practices for AWS organization. So you should monitor the activity of master account using CloudTrail. So why this is important? Because whatever activity is happening into your account, whether it is a root account, whether it is a member account, you should log all the account activity. One of the best practices of implementing CloudTrail, do not store the CloudTrail logs local to the account. For example, the second account which I added, invited to AWS organization. So you have to enable CloudTrail, but don't store everything locally to that account. Store it on your root account or any other account, so that if something happens to your child account, at least you should be able to understand, you will have the logs to judge what is happening with that secondary account. Do not manage resources in the master account, which I mentioned earlier. Master accounts are not made for your workloads. You should just keep master account for billing purpose, pushing out the policies, controlling everything at one place. Manage your org using principle of least privilege. This is very important. principle of least privileges is very important in terms of managing your AWS organization. Use OUs to assign the controls. Again, important factor. I showed you how you can play around with the SCPs at OU so you can control it per account basis. Test the control on a single AWS account first. Obviously, if you're pushing out the policy, it's always best practices to test that policy on one account and then apply on rest of the account based upon your requirement. So these are some of the best practices of using AWS Organization. So I hope the demo is quite clear. What you have to do, what you have to play around. There is no cost associated with that. So play around with AWS Organization. As part of this series, I'll be seeing you in the next lecture, which is more towards the landing zone concept, another important factor, where we will be learning a lot of different concept of landing zone and the account concept. Place out a comment in comment section if you're facing any issue. Have a nice day. Bye bye.